Believe it or not, 1936 is still relevant today. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, 1936, provides a masterclass in managing and dealing with people. Is a read which is known by millions, even those who haven't read it know the name, and that it is good for a reason. From making a good first impression to disagreeing effectively, it contains all you need to know about becoming skillful, pleasant, and assured in your personal and business dealings. Dealing with people is probably the biggest problem you face. True, even today, learning to deal with people in the right way will open up your future potential life in business and relationships. The key message number one is praise is more effective than criticism. When you hear the name Al Capone, a few associations probably spring to mind, like mob violence, corruption, and criminal protection rackets. Whatever you know about the famous gangster, you probably don't think of him as a do-gooder or public benefactor. But one man did, Capone himself. As he put it, I've spent the best years of my life giving people all the lighter pleasures, helping them have a good time. And all I get is abuse, the existence of a hunted man. The notorious mobster who terrified Chicago believed that deep down he was a good man. What can we learn from this? Well, like Al Capone, we tend to believe we're in the right no matter what we've done. But if we struggle to criticize ourselves, just imagine how we feel when we're criticized by others. So what's the solution? It's true that people need to be urged to change their ways from time to time. But if we can't help them by criticizing them, what can we do? The answer is simple. We can praise them. Everyone wants to feel valued and important, and a few words of appreciation can get you closer to your desired result than any amount of criticisms and complaints. The key message number two is make everyone you meet feel interesting and important. Picture this. You've come home from a long day at work, and as soon as you open the door, you see your puppy bounding towards you. Her tail is wagging and she's jumping up in excitement. You can't help but smile at your cute, furry friend. If you have a dog, then you understand why people keep them as pets. It's because of how they make us feel. Dogs make such great companions because they simply can't hide their affection from us. There's a lesson to be learned from dogs, and it can help you attract friends with puppy-like ease. So, what's the human equivalent of canine affection? How do you show your goodwill to a new acquaintance and earn hers in return? So the quick way to a stranger's heart is showing that you're interested in him too. How can you do that? Well, start by showing a genuine pleasure when you meet someone. Smile at him and greet him enthusiastically. Make an effort to remember his name and be sure to use it in conversation. In short, show people that you're happy to be in their company. Key message number three is encourage others to talk and listen carefully when they do. In the midst of the American Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln summoned an old neighbor to the White House seeking advice. When he arrived, Lincoln spent hours discussing the emancipation of the enslaved people in the South. Was it a good idea? Would the country as a whole react positively? Lincoln went back and forth all evening, examining the pros and cons of every possible move. Then, without receiving a word of advice from his old friend, he finished up, thanked his neighbor, and sent him home. Like Lincoln, we all value good listeners, but it often seems like they're in short supply. We all like to talk about ourselves, about our achievements, our worries, our past, and our futures. But that's not the way to win friends. In fact, that's how to lose them. Nobody likes people who monopolize conversations. If you want to make a favorable first impression and win people's hearts, take the opposite tack. Invite them to tell you about their lives and interests, and listen attentively to what they say. Key message number four is, if you can't avoid an argument, then disagree as gently as possible. How do you win an argument? By tangling your opponent in argumentative knots? Or by showing your facts and figures are indeed correct? Or by cleverly exposing some logical fallacy in your opponent's way of thinking? None of these is a good idea. If you win an argument like that, your opponent will come to resent you. And if your opponent resents you, you can be sure he'll never agree with you. When disagreements become full-blown arguments, no one wins. If you can, it's best to avoid them completely. But sometimes, an argument is inevitable. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have to state your case, there are a few tips worth keeping in mind. If you want to convince someone that what you're saying is true, never say the words, "you're wrong." Making your case so bluntly won't bring your opponent around to your way of thinking. Instead, she'll take offense, double down on her own convictions, and try her best to prove you wrong. A subtle and gentle approach is far more likely to be effective. Rather than trying to prove your case by force, try to lead your opponent to your conclusions in the spirit of friendly inquiry. But how do you get someone who disagrees with you to cooperate? The trick is to just acknowledge the possibility that you might be wrong. Try saying something like, "Well, I could be wrong. Let's look at the facts." This is often enough to disarm a stubborn opponent. Key message number 5 is get others to agree with you from the start and then gently lead them to your conclusions. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, understood the fine art of persuasion. By asking the right questions in the right way, he convinced people to affirm things they'd never believed before. How did he do it? Well, he made sure to get them in an affirmative state of mind. That means he got them into the habit of saying yes. And how did he do that? First, he began his conversations by making assertions everyone could agree with. Then, bit by bit, he shifted the conversation into more dubious territory. By foregoing the points everyone could agree on, he made his audience more likely to accept the contentious arguments that followed. Socrates' style of persuasion is worth imitating. If you can get people nodding from the beginning, you're halfway to convincing them you're right. The key message number 6 is try to understand other people's viewpoints. Jay Magnum was in a difficult situation. He represented an elevator maintenance company and he needed to schedule some repairs at the hotel. Jay knew the work would take a full day, but the hotel manager didn't want to shut down the elevator for longer than 2 hours. So, what did Jay do? Did he say that the repairs were impossible to rush? No. He took a minute to see things from the manager's point of view. Jay let him know that he understood his desire to keep the guests satisfied. But he pointed out if the repairs didn't go ahead soon, the elevator would need far lengthier repair work down the line. Unsurprisingly, the manager agreed to the 8-hour shutdown. Jay was able to convince the manager to let the repairs go ahead because he understood his true concern. The key message number 7 is set the bar high and people will strive to meet it. Ruth Hopkins, a 4th grade teacher from Brooklyn, New York, got a surprise on the first day of school. She'd been assigned a new class for the year and realized that Tommy, the biggest troublemaker in school, was now among her pupils. Though he was smart, Tommy was very disobedient. His previous teacher had complained about him day in, day out. How would Ruth cope? Luckily, she had a plan. On the first day, Ruth went around the class and complimented each student. When she reached Tommy, Ruth looked at him and told him she'd heard he was a natural-born leader. She said she was depending on him to make her class the best of all the 4th graders that year. With such a stellar reputation to live up to, Tommy's behavior rapidly improved. Final summary. To be truly influential, try to understand the perspectives of those around you. Everybody likes to be listened to, understood, and made to feel important. If you can do these things for other people, you'll always find favor. Hey guys, if you need more original motivational videos, click now on the videos that are appearing on the screen. Also make sure to subscribe and enable all notifications for keeping you in the fight.